I don't really need to introduce Finster to you guys because I'm sure you all already know who he is. I have not actually consumed any of Finster's content, like, at all. So I literally, like, total outsider from my perspective. Who's that? You're telling me not everyone in my community knows who Finster is? Well, Finster's a live streamer who has been cross-dressing as a joke for years now. You know, as a wacky meme. Haha, we love our cross-dressing, don't we, folks? Start the video.
Oh wow, I'm so surprised. Yeah, I know.
So you might have noticed for the last 6 months or so, when someone asks on stream or on Twitter or Reddit or something,
Is Finn on HRT?
I just avoid the question. I avoid the question entirely and make a little joke, and that's solely because recently I started HRT. Confetti. It took a while to feel comfortable to make this video. Even now, I am very scared. I don't know why, but I want so badly to be able to talk about stuff that I've been doing, and it's really hard to if no one knows. I want to talk about my life openly and all the amazing things that have happened. So it's kind of nervous excitement, I guess. I spent so many months scared and stressed out about trying to pick a label. I'm still not done yet. I still haven't figured absolutely everything out, but I'm feeling comfortable enough to talk about it now.
So wait.
Nice. Okay. He's so cool. Yeah, basically the gist of it is he's going by genderqueer now, and he still prefers he, him pronouns, but that might change in the future, and any, all is fine. Great, whatever. So, anyway, I think that's great. Go you, Finster. Fantastic. People have pointed out, well, as was joked about in the beginning of the video, a bunch of people expected this to some degree. People have commented that I called the HRT thing because, you know, skin be smooth. Whatever, you know, but the gist of it seems nice, it's good, it's happy. I think that, like, representationally, it's really awesome because this is literally #4 on trending. Finster is a very liked person, you know, like, very, very popular. So I think it's any kind of, like, exposure or representation is great. Broader culture war stuff, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's not all about broader culture war stuff, right? Like, whatever Finn's happy with, that's great. I did want to talk about something else, though, a little more pointedly, because a lot of this, it's not just me saying, like, oh, do you know Finn's coming out? Great, whatever. So the discourse around Finster has changed significantly. I think it's actually addressed in this video. Here, let me get to the point where it kind of segues into what I want to talk about here.
So does this mean you're a woman now?
We'll get to that in a minute. We gotta do the serious bit first. Why? Okay, well, honestly, this might be a little bit controversial. I cross-dressed on Twitch for years. After doing it for a meme, I wanted to explore my gender a bit more. People have been making egg jokes or saying I'm on HRT for years. And kind of because of that, a lot of the trans community started popping into streams or, like, seeing my videos or interacting with me. And that had never happened to me before. And I learned a lot. And some of it seemed a little bit too interesting. It felt a bit like I uncovered a part of myself that I've been purposefully just shutting down for as long as I can remember and never questioned why. I have.
Ain't that cute? That's nice, you know? Very, very, very nice, very happy. Glad it's working out like that for him or them, however it plays out. This is common with people who find this community too. Yeah, the possibility space of what you can be, what you're allowed to be or act like or dress like or whatever else, you know, there are a lot of social limiters, usually implicit ones, sometimes explicit ones that very carefully control what people think they can be or do. So when you come into contact with people who live a very different life or who believe things or who say things or act in certain ways that you weren't previously that familiar with or you didn't really understand that much, it can make you think like, oh, wow, I guess that is a doable thing. That is like that is a thing that is possible to do and not just some kind of like weird abstract thing, you know? It reminds me of that joke that always circles where people are like, doesn't everyone wake up in the morning wishing they were born a girl? No, that's a you thing, actually. You know, but it would take a conversation with somebody else who feels that way in some cases, I think, for a person to think like, oh, okay, maybe that actually means something and it's not just some kind of like quiet experience everyone has. This is actually really common with homosexuals and bisexuals, right? Where like, this is very common with women especially, I feel, where this is like an older thing now. I don't think it's as common today, but there was like a trope, I guess, in historical lesbianism, where a bunch of women who were themselves bi or lesbian would think like, oh, well, every girl is attracted to other girls, but you're supposed to be with the guys. And it's like, well, no, that's not actually true. Not every girl is attracted to other girls. Like that's that's a you thing. Like that's not just like an innate default thing everyone's constantly repressing. That's actually like a specific thing that you don't have to be. No, not everyone wants to kiss cute people of their own gender, if you can believe it. If you can believe such a thing, that these degenerates walk amongst us. Anyway, Finster coming out is cool. People seem to be really positive. As Finn said just there, cross-dressing led a lot of people in the trans community to pay attention to Finster and what he was doing and his streams. I've seen Finster interact with a lot of, trans content creators and sex workers on Twitter, usually in very like mutually friendly ways, which is, I mean, I'm glad everyone's happy. I'm glad everyone's having a good time. A lot of people, I have seen discourse about people in the past accusing Finster of trans baiting, like basically like, oh, haha, what if I was a guy but dressed and acted like a girl, as some kind of like pantomime of transness, which a couple of points to that one. First of all, cross-dressing isn't trans baiting any more than being trans is like pantomiming being a woman. That's just a very stupid and reactionary way of thinking, for one. And for two, people who cross-dress consistently, certainly the point that Finn has, usually something going on there. Not saying always, just usually. Kind of weird to discount that. It's not like there's no relationship between people who cross-dress and people who eventually decide they're trans. Like that's not a zero correlation kind of thing, There's something going on there. Steven Crowder? Yes, Steven Crowder, known transgender. It seems like even in progressive communities that even when you are doing things that most people would consider to be progressive, or at the very least something that the progressive community would care for, people are really ready to judge or ostracize you for it because it doesn't, like, you're not doing it in a way they care for, if that makes any sense. I can, I'll talk about that more in a second, but let's run through a little bit more of the video. It's not a long video. We don't even have to watch all of it.
I have this notes page on my phone from over a year ago now with a handwritten note of like pros and cons list of taking HRT, and when I went to go fill out the cons list, there wasn't much I could come up with. So
yeah, let this be an alert to people in my community watching. If you are a guy and you're doing this, you've got some thinking to do, okay?
Started.
Oh, also, I know it's stupid, but I wanted to say it. I did factor in the whole, like, I wonder if doing streaming and the money that's kind of attached to it is the reason I wanted to do this. Like, is it warping my brain? I did think about that. I've streamed for years and it's been my entire life and I've made a lot of money off it, and I wonder if that's what's affecting me and making me want to do this. And it's not. This isn't exactly something I just decided,
This will be funny.
and then did. I am maybe the most risk-averse person I knew, and I was terrified, but I knew it's what I wanted. I just wanted to put that in there just so I'm not, like, in one of Blair White's thumbnails or something.
So...
Really thought the Blair call-out here was funny. Yeah, I think it's pretty smart of Finn, I think, to kind of, like, get ahead of anyone who claims that this is something that he's doing exclusively because there's a monetary incentive. This is something that transphobes often point to, the idea that there's some kind of, like, other reason, whether it be money or clout, that people pretend to be trans. This is a delusional take, right? Like, that's an insane thing to believe. Like, yeah, man, people become trans for all the awesome benefits, all the, like, money and clout and social power that comes with being trans. People love that. But it is something that people say. So, absolutely deranged, opposite of the truth, whatever. I wanted to say, though, in terms of, like, weird assumptions to make, or like weird guesses, basically everyone for a while now has either publicly or privately expressed some doubt that Finn is cisgender, because, again, like, the video opened with, wow, what a surprise. Like, there have been more surprising transgender reveals in the history of YouTube. I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, egg discourse, though. So let me try to intro this to people who aren't fully aware. Just let me see if I can, like, I think most people who are watching this in my community know, but maybe there are people in, like, YouTube, like, who will watch later who might not know. But, like, okay. People who are transgender generally speaking, want other people to be transgender. Not in some kind of like corrupting influence way, but more in a like, a lot of trans people saw themselves as like having lived through an experience of repression, and they're of the opinion a lot of other people are as well. Now, that's because a lot of people are, and we're seeing that right now from an increasing number of people who are identifying as trans or non-binary or whatever else, right? Like, clearly, the, impermeable barriers of our socially determined two-gender system or whatever are a lot more fluid and a lot less, like, innate than people initially thought. So when transgender people see people who are acting like they themselves might be transgender, that's usually something that trans people get kind of excited about because they look at it and they think like, oh, I can help this person. Or like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this person could get some kind of like insight that I didn't get when I was younger and didn't know that I was trans? Maybe there's some way for me to hasten the process of self-understanding or help or be supportive or something like that. The euphemism, or I guess the analogy or metaphor or whatever, the one that usually gets employed is like the egg, right? And then when the egg gets cracked, like you crack an egg, that's when a person realizes they're trans. So when a person gets called an egg, that's a trans person who doesn't know they're trans yet, not a trans person who's in the closet. That's not what an egg is. A trans person who's in the closet is just a closeted trans person. An egg is a person who doesn't know that they're trans. So I think what Vaush means here is that trans people want other trans people to feel comfortable in themselves. Nope, I said what I said because trans people are annoying and insufferable when it comes to the egg discourse, and that's my point. Trans people want other people to be trans. And I know that because people in my community are constantly like making jokes about me being trans or this person being trans or anyone being trans. This person held their wrist at an odd angle. You're transgender. You're transgender. You're transgender. Now, a lot of this is just like harmless good fun. And by the way, everyone does this to some extent in some way or another. I've said like, oh wow, how gay, because a person like, I don't know, like does this one time or what, like it's not that unusual to make jokes about how like secretly everyone is gay or trans, but you do it knowing that it's a joke. And to be fair, I think the vast majority of people who do that do know that they're joking, but I do also think that the egg discourse can be kind of a little bit weird sometimes. Like, I'm not trans, but I am bi. I was gonna say pan, but let's just say bi now because we're talking in the context of like me 15 years ago. When I was in high school, I had very supportive friends. By supportive friends, I mean like they were just chill people. Wasn't a big deal. It was all good, And at some point, when I was like 15 or so, I realized that I liked guys too. And I would have to, at some point, mention that to my friends, which I did immediately and without any concern or effort, and it was fine. Seriously, like, I lucked out in terms of, friendship there. However, if my friends had been making jokes about or insisting that I was bisexual for years beforehand because of other little incidental hints that I dropped, like making comments about guys' abs or whatever, I feel like that would have created its own kind of social pressure that would have made me not want to tell them, because it would have reduced the subject to a joke to me, I guess. It would have like made me a little resistant out of stubbornness. It would have made me think like, oh, if this is such a big laugh, if this is such a broadly discussed and addressed topic, then it probably isn't anything like actually personal. It's just like this big meme or whatever. I don't think I would have liked it very much if my friends had done that. They didn't, so I'm speaking hypothetically. But I think that a lot of people do this with the trans thing as well. Like, clearly, Finn has been thinking about identifying as trans, or at least getting on HRT for quite a while. Not exactly a new thought, not popping into the mind like the minute before this video was released. It's something that he's given consideration to. But very clearly, like all the people in the world saying Finn is trans, Finn is trans, Finn is trans, like I doubt that hastened the process or helped. Finn is very positive in this video, and I'm not trying to suggest that anybody making jokes about Finn being trans is responsible in some way for Finn being worse off or unhappy. I don't think that's true. I just think that when you make jokes like that or are insistent like that, you often create another kind of social pressure that is present within progressive communities, It reminds me a little bit of how because ultimately, doesn't it kind of refer right back to a lot of the traditional gender role stuff, right? Like, I have known guys, people who identify as men, who take HRT, right? And the reason that these guys have taken HRT is because they, skin smoother, whatever else, low dose of HRT, whatever. Now, a lot of people look at that and it's like, oh, wow, can't wait for her egg to crack. Like, that would be a common refrain in the trans community. But, like, doesn't that kind of deviate from the point that we're trying to make here about gender nonconforming behavior and accepting a wide and expressive range of how people can identify or present themselves? Like, if a guy taking estrogen necessarily means that they're going to end up being trans, then the implication to that would be that estrogen actually is like a prescriptive identity maker, that estrogen literally does construct the identity, which is the point that TERFs and transphobes make, right? Just for cis people rather than for people who take hormones medically. It's the exact same point, right? The people who would say that testosterone is this like innate building block of masculinity probably wouldn't hasten to make that claim if they were talking about a pre-transition trans guy, right? But then you take hormones and it's like, well, that must mean that down the line you're going to do this or that. I guess I'm just saying I think that it would be better to be a little bit more like kind of like blasé and laissez-faire and a little bit less you know what I mean, like a little bit less like care less. Of course I would say that I'm a gender abolitionist. I think people should care less about gender in general, and people are going to make jokes, and again, I'm not going to stop making jokes about like so and so person is gay because X or whatever, or like Steven Crowder keeps finding a suspicious number of excuses to cross-dress. Like you can make jokes like that, I guess, but I just think that past a point the discourse gets really weird. Does everyone understand what I'm going on about? You all understand the point that I'm making, right? I wasn't listening, sorry. Okay, that's all right. What about queer people who think people who date trans people are gay? Unfortunately, our understanding of straight and gay kind of break down the moment you leave the, like, hardline gender binary. I'm not saying that, like, if you're a guy dating a trans woman doesn't make you gay, but at the same time, like, if you're with a cis woman and you're a guy, so that's straight, but then the cis woman identifies as non-binary, but is otherwise identical in behavior and appearance, does that change your sexuality? Frankly, these terms just don't make very much sense. People have tried to correct for this by doing the, like, gynophile or androphile thing. I think that for the most part, what most people are, and I'm kind of speaking with a bias here because I am who I am, I think that for the most part, people are strongly attracted towards a set of characteristics that are heavily associated with either masculinity or femininity, you know? So, you can be really into femininity, and there can be guys that are really, really feminine, I guess, picture unrelated. And you could think like, well, okay, so, here's a person who's hyper feminine, but actually, like, this person has XY chromosomes, so you're gay if you like them. Then if you're doing that, you're making the exact same arguments the reactionaries make, where it's like, what, like people look at chromosomes for what they're sexually attracted to? How the f do you do that? My eyesight's not that good, It gets wonky. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Worry less about sexuality. Worry less about gender. Worry instead about serving. You all dress terribly, okay? Worry about that. Don't worry. What's a guy clothing? What's a girl clothing? My brother in Christ. Your shoulders don't fit. Your pants and your boots have different like widths at the out that doesn't match properly. What silhouette are you constructing? Your color profile is all off. You're being ridiculous right now. Okay? Just don't care about gender. Don't care about sexuality. You need to focus on exactly two things, all right? You need to dress well and learn how to eat. And that's it. If you can master those two things, you'll have this whole business figured out. And past that, if you want to take any kind of hormones, estrogen, testosterone, whatever else, go for it. I don't know. For the sake of completion, let's finish the video. What about intersex people? What about them? Tempest. No. I completely agree. I feel like people are getting more and more label obsessed in a way that I think is not helpful or conducive to any kind of, I don't know. Language will always be an inarticulate way of expressing thought and purpose and identity. That's just, it's language, you're taking the like vague meandering thoughts that you have and constructing words to fit them, but it will never ever be a perfect fit. the more definitions you create for what you are, the more you're kind of like prescriptively limiting yourself. I think that broad generalizing terms are fine. Oh, they're gay, they're straight, whatever. But even then, we're being very vague here. I wouldn't worry too much about the specifics.
Trans? Gender? Okay, look, I think that's gonna cause some debate, and I don't want to be the one to have it. I think the label that suits me best is gender fluid. But look, whenever I tell people about this in real life, what I say is, I just don't care. And if you're gonna be playing around with your expression or gender, you shouldn't either. In 10 years, there's no way people are gonna be making coming out videos, but I get this has been like a pretty big part of my content over the years as I slowly figured stuff out, so it's worth saying. I feel really comfortable with who I am. I'm so glad I got to this point with such like a supportive group of people. I don't think anyone should feel pressured to come out, and I get that I'm definitely like top of the tier list for this guy's probably trans. I just want to be able to talk more openly about stuff. The easiest thing would be to just not do this, to keep cross-dressing forever, but I want to change. This guy's going to town on that Nerf dart. I want to get rid of the clickbait. I can finally talk about the stuff that's been going on. And
the bunny chair goes hard. Yeah, unfortunately, that chair is shit. Finn can probably get away with this because I doubt he's more than like 140 pounds, but gamer chairs in general are very bad for comfort and for ergonomics. I might have literally had this exact chair at some point. Well, not me, Vermin. I warned Vermin about the gamer chairs.
Got so many stupid jokes that I've kept in the Twitter drafts that I can finally make. So yeah. I forgot about pronouns. I guess I still prefer he, him, but who knows? They might change, and that's kind of half the fun anyway. I didn't mention this for so long just because I do still feel like, you know, boy. I waited so long because I wanted a label for people to attribute to me other than just guy on HRT. I was just really scared of people making what I'm doing into like some sort of political thing or just debating my reasoning to exist, and I am just here to be me.
But there is one more thing.
Also, I'm bi. I like dudes. That's weird to say.
That's crazy.
Everything I say feels like a bit now. God damn it. I know there's going to be a million questions and I can't wait to hear them, but it's just I am really bad at this, so I'll see you on Twitch. Thanks for watching.
Really, it is like a lovely video, isn't it? The rest of the video is him talking with his parents.
This is probably the most important video I'll ever make. Amazing. Thank you, babe.
Well, partner.
I didn't expect you to actually do that.
I'm gonna do this. You realize the only reason why I'm doing any of this is because you raised me vegetarian?
That's true.
Well, as I said to you about 3 months ago, I never wanted a son.
I blame you. They should.
It's all those apples.
It is. It is. It's too many fruits and veggies and not enough red meat.
Nice. It really is a lovely video. You know, not to get too sentimental on you guys here, kind of like maintain the facade of internet irony, but this is the kind of coming out video, I guess, that I hope will one day be the only kind, you know? Like, there are so many videos out there about coming out that have to be, like, as a matter of necessity, some level of self-serious, but this one is jovial and light, and that's nice. I think that's cool. I also do think it's funny because, like, this is, like, more of a political thing, more so than, like, a direct Finster identity. There's always been a really weird... Okay, I can't exactly explain to you why, because it's complicated and I don't really know. But especially when it comes to anime, there are some people who have always been very, very insistent on very feminine guys in anime or other media remaining cross-dressing femboys and not being girls. The big thing here was with Brisket. You probably remember the drama from this, which was incredibly funny. Bridget, the character from Guilty Gear, where a bunch of people... after the most recent game confirmed in one of the endings that Bridget is in fact a girl, a culture war victory that you know, has not been displaced by any amount of whining from the reactionaries. There were a bunch of people who were really upset and went like, no, actually, because in these previous games, Bridget is just a cross-dressing guy who likes cross-dressing. I don't know why, but there's like, I think it's because online, and I'm not going to get into the details on this, but people have for a long time, not just online, but like whatever, been very, very into the idea of a hyper-feminine person with a dick. Like, that is just something that has captured the hearts and minds of nerds on the internet and probably everywhere for a long time. I don't even think it's just an internet thing. I really just think sometimes people like both femininity and dick. Who could imagine? Ridiculous. and they obsess over it. But a lot of these people are also like 4chan reactionaries, so they fucking hate trends because they think that like the cute version of that is a guy who's just very feminine, but they don't like the political degenerate gender ideology version of it, which is where they're actually a trans woman, even though we're talking about potentially somebody who is exactly the same, you know, biologically, presentationally, how they dress, how they act. So look at this in the Neo Encyclopedia wiki. I was looking up just to see if I could find any wiki drama on it. Bridget was created as a cute character by Daisuke Ishiwatari, who wanted to vary the game's cast. Due to the character's appearance, she was initially described as female by video game sources. When they became aware of her biological gender, reviewers wrongly included Bridget on lists of best androgynous or cross-dressing characters, as well as debating her sexual orientation. But in the recent game, Guilty Gear Strive, and with an interview from Daisuke, it was confirmed Bridget is indeed a woman despite the controversy. It is still debated, but most people just accept she's trans and move on. Can you feel the community drama radiating from that paragraph that has probably been rewritten multiple times, like by different people? Like, you can feel it emanating from it, right? Like the heat of a recently put out fire. Yeah. So there are probably going to be some people who think that, like, you know, in the original Japanese, Finster is actually just considered a cross-dressing man, but I don't know. I don't know how much that's going to apply here. I don't actually watch Finster's content, so I don't have a good idea of what the community or, you know, whatever else is, but it's pretty funny. Vaush, do you remember when I came out to you and I was all serious and you were like, that's cool and didn't care? Well, yeah, sorry about the Tempest. I should have mustered up more investment, but you know. It's all good to me. Oh, dude, there are probably at least 2 spin-off websites from this. Just 2. Oh, it's quite a bit more than that. He said, do your work and stop emailing me. Vaush, I'm trans. That's cool. Have you finished editing the video? They're going to say Finster was localized, Lamau. Yeah, in the original Japanese version of that coming out video, Finster actually reaffirmed that he's just a cross-dressing boy. Ruben, you're so modest. What are you doing? Look at this little guy. Look at how long he is. Look at this. Da, 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 da.